Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we really unpack the information you need.
Yep. No endless scrolling here. We find the good stuff and pull out the key insights for you.
And today, we're tackling something pretty crucial in the global business scene: getting better at your business English communication.
Exactly. We've gone through a really interesting discussion from a business English learning podcast.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it featured a host, Jake, and a guest, Emma, who's got loads of experience working with international teams. So lots of practical stuff.
Okay, good. So, our mission for you, the listener, today is, well, it's simple, but we think pretty powerful. We want to give you some real usable phrases and strategies, things you can actually use to communicate more confidently, more clearly in English at work.
Whether that's in a meeting, writing an email, or, handling a phone call.
Right. No heavy theory, just things you can put into action, like straight away, sound good.
Let's do it. So maybe let's kick things off with meetings. That's where so much business discussion happens, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Internal ones, client ones. Getting your point across clearly is, well, it's vital.
It really is. And one of the first things Emma brought up was just the power of keeping your language simple.
Right. It's not about using the biggest words you know.
Not at all. It's about making sure everyone in the room actually gets what you're saying.
She talked about using straightforward language and even pausing sometimes, just to let things sink in.
Yeah, strategic pausing. And having phrases ready like, let me clarify that point.
Or even simpler, to put it simply.
Exactly. What's the effect of that, do you think? Using those clarification phrases.
Well, I think it shows you care more about everyone understanding than just, making your own point.
That's a great way to put it. It kind of builds trust, doesn't it? Makes people feel more comfortable jumping in.
Yeah, like leveling the playing field a bit. Makes total sense.
And speaking of keeping things moving smoothly in meetings.
Oh, yeah, she had some good practical phrases for that, too.
She did. Like, just starting off with a simple, direct, let's get started. No messing around.
Efficient. I like it. And then, if you're the one who's a bit lost,
Instead of just staying quiet.
yeah, you could just jump in with, could you please clarify that? Why is being direct like that so important there?
Well, think about it. Confusion in a meeting just wastes time, right?
Totally.
If something's unclear, it can lead to mistakes later. So asking directly, well, it helps everyone, really. It's efficient.
Good point. It's proactive. And for those meetings that drag on a bit,
We've all been there.
she suggested just, let's take a quick break. Seems small, but
But it's smart. It shows you're aware people get tired. Quick breaks can actually help people refocus.
right. And what about circling back to something mentioned earlier without totally derailing the current topic?
Yes, she recommended to follow up on that point.
That's neat. It signals you're connecting back, not just throwing in something random.
Exactly. It keeps the conversation, coherent.
Okay, now, disagreements. This is often where things get a bit delicate in business English.
Definitely. It's the classic how to disagree without being disagreeable problem.
So Emma's advice,
Her main point was to acknowledge the other person's view first.
okay,
Using phrases like, I see your point, but I have a different perspective.
or I understand where you're coming from, but I think something like that.
Precisely. What makes those work so well, you figure?
I guess. It validates them first. Before you offer your idea, softens the disagreement.
Yeah, exactly. It takes the personal edge off it.
I would like to offer a different viewpoint. It sounds quite constructive.
It does. It frames it as adding to the discussion, not attacking. The key thing, she stressed, is staying calm and respectful. Focus on the idea, not the person.
Makes sense. Keep it professional. Okay, so let's shift gears. What about written communication? Emails.
Yes.
Yeah.
Equally important, but a totally different ballgame, right?
For sure. No body language, no tone of voice to rely on.
Exactly. So your words have to be super clear, and your tone needs careful thought. Emma really hammered home the importance of structure.
Like a polite opening, stating your purpose clearly and early on, and a professional close.
Yep. That basic structure, why is that so critical for emails?
I suppose it respects the other person's time. They can see what it's about quickly. A clear email is just, well, easier to deal with.
Couldn't agree more. And just like with meetings, having some go-to phrases helps a lot. Emma shared a few good ones.
Standard phrases, but they work, right? Like starting with, I hope this email finds you well, sets a nice tone.
It does. It's standard, but it works. And for chasing something up,
I'm writing to follow up on. Pretty clear, pretty direct.
and if you need information.
A simple, polite, could you please provide an update on? gets the job done.
Right. And acknowledging someone's quick reply with, "Thank you for your prompt response," little things like that build goodwill.
Definitely. And ending with something like, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, keeps the door open.
Exactly. Encourages communication.
Okay, but tone in emails,
Yeah.
that's where things can really go wrong, especially with tricky subjects. It's so easy to misinterpret something written down.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where Emma had some really sharp advice. She stressed avoiding language that sounds, confrontational.
How so?
Well, instead of pointing fingers or saying something is flat out wrong, frame it differently. Her example was great, saying, "I think there may be a misunderstanding here," instead of just, "This is wrong."
Ah, okay. What's the difference in impact there?
Well, I think there may be a misunderstanding. Sounds collaborative, doesn't it? Like, let's figure this out together.
Whereas this is wrong, just put someone on the defensive immediately, shuts things down.
Exactly. It's much more accusatory. So yeah, consciously aiming for a positive, constructive tone, even when discussing problems, is just smart. Prevents a lot of trouble.
Keeps things collaborative. Got it. Okay, final area then. Phone calls. Telephone conversations in English.
Yeah, this one causes a fair bit of anxiety for many people, even experienced ones.
I can see why. No visual cues, pressure to understand everything instantly.
It's totally normal to feel that way. But Emma had some, again, really practical tips to build confidence.
Like what?
Well, a big one was consciously making an effort to speak slowly and clearly.
Might feel a bit weird at first, maybe.
Maybe, but it makes a huge difference in being understood. And crucially, she said, don't ever be afraid to ask someone to repeat themselves. Why do you think people hesitate to do that?
Maybe fear of looking like they weren't listening or slowing things down.
Probably. But asking for repetition is actually a sign you are listening closely. And it saves time in the long run by stopping mistakes.
Good point. So what phrases did she suggest for that?
Simple ones are best. Could you please repeat that? Or maybe slightly softer. I'm sorry I didn't catch that. Could you say it again?
Okay, straightforward. And to double check, you heard correctly.
She suggested using, let me confirm that. Just read back what you think you heard.
That's brilliant. Avoids misunderstandings later. Proactive again.
Exactly. Shows you're paying attention. And one more tip. If the topic is really complex or has lots of details, just say, I'll follow up with an email. Takes the pressure off remembering everything perfectly right then and there. You get it all down in writing.
Perfect. Clear written confirmation.
Yeah.
It all seems to come back to being clear and proactive, doesn't it?
Pretty much. And as Emma kept saying, practice is everything for phone calls. The more you do it, the less daunting it becomes. You build that confidence.
Makes sense. Okay, so quick recap then. We talked about business meetings.
Using simple language. Key phrases for starting. Clarifying. Disagreeing politely. Managing the flow.
Then we moved on to emails, the importance of structure, those useful standard phrases, and really watching your tone. Keep it positive, keep it constructive.
Yep. And finally, phone calls. Speaking clearly, asking for repeats when needed, confirming details, and using email follow-ups.
And that final piece of advice from Emma in the Source podcast. It was about practice, wasn't it?
Yes. The power of daily, consistent practice. Like reading business news in English, listening to things like, well, this deep dive.
Indeed. And actually trying to speak English with colleagues whenever you can.
Even small bits of regular exposure and use, they really add up over time.
So true. Which kind of brings us to our final thought for you, the listener.
Right. Think about one specific situation at work where you communicate in English. Maybe one you find a bit challenging.
Could be leading a certain type of meeting, writing a particular email, maybe those phone calls.
Whatever it is for you. Now, just think about trying out one or two of the phrases we talked about today. Just one or two.
Next time you're in that situation, give it a go. Because those consistent small actions, they really can make a big difference to your confidence and ultimately how effective you are.
So what's the one thing you'll try in your next business interaction? Something to think about.